Hey, welcome to the Xplor podcast with Scott and Ryan. We like to talk about real estate, business, investing, entrepreneurship, and a whole lot more. We got a real exciting episode for you today. We got a guest on. He is the co founder and CEO of Bridge Turnkey Investments. He's a speaker and author. You've probably heard him on one of the dozen of podcasts he's been on beforehand. And he has a book coming out January 10th called The No Quitter's Guide to Crushing Real Estate Investing and Building an Extraordinary Life. Everybody, welcome Nathan Brooks.
Hey, thank you so much, Ryan and Scott. Nice to be on here with you guys.
Nathan, good to see you, man. It's been a while since we got to catch up. It seems like you guys are out getting a lot of stuff done. I know the market's a little bit crazy. Start off, just give us a little bit of background about yourself, just to let you guys know. Nathan and I met several years back, both in the real estate investing market. Nathan runs an amazing company, Bridge Turnkey, here in Kansas City. And actually, they've expanded out to multiple cities. I'll let him kind of discuss that. But he's been an awesome guy, a friend, colleague, acquaintance, and have definitely kicked each other, different contractors back and forth, and really tried to help each other out as much as we can. So, Nathan, give us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is true. You've more you helping me, I think, in the last couple of months than me helping you, but much appreciated there. And yeah, I'm a native Kansas Citian. Have my family lives out south of town and on 12 acres, so I'm staring out at all the trees and deer running around out here, which is awesome.
Nathan, you know what's funny? Real quick, interrupt you. Is Ryan and I used to mow and take care of that lawn the house that you live in there. Did a lot
That's
of tree tearing down, cutting down trees, fires, everything else out there. You got an amazing spot.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is, and that's wild that you guys were out here. That's hilarious. Um, but yeah, I guess we probably know the mutual person that sold it. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I've been doing real estate since the mid 2000s, and we've done a little bit of everything. We've done, lots of flips, probably 700 or so, single family flips over the last 5 or 6, 7 years, something like that. And we've built in Kansas City. We're probably somewhere between, I don't know, 60 and 80 units over the last few years in KC. And then we've done some ground up development as well as just some, horizontal development in Texas as well the last couple of years. Owned some Airbnbs. I have probably a dozen or so Airbnbs, and just now, just really working on navigating this crazy market we find ourselves rolling into.
Yeah.
Into this 2023. Today is the day of the midterm elections, so lots going on today.
It is. I need to get out and vote. Have you guys had the chance to go vote yet?
I have not gone yet, but I have done my homework. So
That's that's a plus. I know Ryan, he doesn't do much homework, so I
I
wouldn't be
sent my
surprised if he just
ballot.
goes and checks a few boxes. Nathan, so tell us what kind of got you into real estate? What created that passion, that desire to be in this industry? It's not an easy industry to be in. It can be a lot of fun, but it could also be extremely stressful. So tell us a little bit about that, your journey into the business.
Yeah, in my 20s, well, all the way through, really since like fifth, sixth grade, I was in music. So I played professionally actually out of high school and in college. So I played music professionally for more than a decade, and I just I was it's hard to make a living as a musician, and
Yeah.
so something that I'm really passionate about, and to this day I still play, but it wasn't like I could just go, there's a very small number of people who make a really great living doing that.
Hmm.
And so, I was sitting randomly at a place that's no longer in existence, 75th Street Brewery here in Kansas City, and overheard a guy talking about real estate, and I had like been I'd read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'd, done some, homework and pondering about this, but I went and like crashed this guy over lunch. And I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks I'm in business with him, which it didn't go very well, I'll say that. But as I'm sure that kind of, shocking that, you jump into something and have no idea about anyone or
Yeah.
about that person. But needless to say, so I took action and bought a number of houses over the years over that, and
So was
got
that
some
guy,
more.
was he more of just a money guy? Was he an actual partner out there finding and sourcing deals? What that relationship look like?
Well, he was supposed to be a contractor,
Uh,
and so literally like within a week or two, I'd gotten the bank loan together and had these projects running, and he stopped showing up, and then
hmm,
he'd show up on Fridays to get paid or whatever, and I didn't.
always.
I'm just like stuck in the middle of this thing that I don't know. I'm trying to go hire the day labor guys to get jobs done because I don't
Oh
know
man.
anything about hiring at that point, and it was a mess, big mess for sure.
So how did what made you decide to be partners with him? Just because he kind of introduced you to the real estate and you knew that he could do you thought that he could do the contracting work, or what made you pull that trigger, I guess?
Oh, because I was naive.
Just super excited.
Yeah, super excited and naive to that, and in hindsight, in anybody thinking about doing any level of partnership, that would not be the good way to go into it. But I've been kind of the jump both feet in the fire kind of guy, and it has served me well over the years, but certainly not in that circumstance. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
No, I would say that you're one of the most giving investors and bigger real estate guys here in Kansas City. If I would have to guess, I don't think you mentioned, but Nathan started a bridge meetup group here in Kansas City back right before. Was it right before COVID, 2019, 2018? Is that when that started?
Yeah, I think
Man, I
2018.
remember that thing took off with so much traction. It was a meetup group and a social Facebook group. And it went from 0 to 10,000. It seemed like almost overnight. And I know you were really pushing and grinding. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was the thought behind creating that group? Why did you spend, it took a lot of time. I mean, you were really doing a lot of work the first several months of that group. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, our coach when at the time we were working with we talked about like those who educate their market dominate their market.
Yes.
Uh, and I think it's cool. I was in a meeting with a guy who I had not met in person this week, working on some spec build stuff for him. And it's cool because he was like, "Hey, that's is like the number one place in town you go to, look up something and work on real estate deals or find a contractor or whatever, find deals." And so, but at the time, I really, I was excited to help people. I love doing the live event, which we haven't done since COVID. But you know, it's a lot to manage, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I mean, you were putting so much time and effort into that, and I'm sitting back patting you on the back because I remember I came to the first several events. COVID really put a hurdle, as everybody knows, on many things, and I felt like it really slowed the traction down of that group. Might have been a
Hmm.
good thing for you personally,
Yeah.
but I mean, you had a whole team working on that, and you guys were kicking butt. And I'm not kidding, guys. This group is the best group to get on if you need anything in Kansas City and you're not a part of the Bridge Meetup group. Get on there. It's on Facebook. It's an amazing group. You will get dozens of recommendations for literally anything and everything you could think of around real estate, even your personal homes. It doesn't matter. Definitely recommend becoming a part of that group.
Well, and
Yeah, it's good.
if I can
Oh, go
add to
ahead.
it, Scott called it a meetup. This thing was getting huge, and I mean, you're getting out of state speakers and stuff like that. I feel like normally meetups, you got a couple dozen people, people take turns talking about their business. This was getting to be a big ordeal.
Yeah, it was. We had people even flying in from all over the country just to come and visit, and people who had their own meetups that wanted to come through. And yeah, that's that kind of music background too of how does it look, how does it photograph? How do we, present something from a stage that looks and feels good? And we brought, I don't think people really realize the level of speakers we even had in there.
Yeah,
Um,
top
it was
notch.
yeah, top notch. So in just putting on a production like that feels good and you want to be there and be a part of it. And now we have, over 12,000 people in that Facebook group, which is pretty amazing. And yeah,
Very
so
active group.
very active. Yeah.
I mean, daily I see stuff coming up on there. I have to block notifications sometimes because it gets so crazy every once in a while. Slow down a little bit right
Yeah.
now, with the market, but there's still a lot of opportunities on there. There's deals. People are sourcing all kinds of stuff on that group. So again, bravo to you guys. It's been an amazing group. If you're in Kansas City, or even if you're not, if you're interested in the Kansas City market, highly recommend just jumping on there. You can learn a lot.
Yeah.
Go into the search bar on that group, you can find about everything you possibly want from the years of stuff that's been posted on there.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
I had a question for you,
Ryan.
Nathan, with Bridge, your turnkey investment company. For listeners that don't know, turnkey means uh, he comes in, does all the work and everything, and it's ready for a renter, or sometimes you place a renter. Um, I was wondering, with the market shifting, kind of becoming more of a buyer's market potentially. Are you excited for that? Being a turnkey investor, how do you feel?
First, can you explain exactly what a turnkey is in your terms, Nathan, just so everybody knows?
For sure. And over the last probably 18 months, we have bought, very few renovations. We've really been focused on the new construction development side. And, frankly, there were a lot less deals that made sense financially for those investor buyers. And so I would say, over the last 12 months or so, we haven't had a ton of those investor deals that we are selling through our investors, because we have several thousand folks that we've worked with or that have come through our system over the years. Not that many bought necessarily, but from a turnkey perspective, it was a quality house and ready to go for a tenant. We've really transitioned to a primary focus on the new construction. And going into the new market now, I'm really focused, honestly, on some cool opportunities that I'm seeing through uh, some of the services in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, and how we can kind of parlay being able to build at a really affordable price and do fee building for clients who, maybe there's not a lot of cash flow up front because of the interest rate, but you're going to get
Mhm.
equity into that deal. So that's what I'm really focused on, is where can we marry, a city opportunity, 10-year tax abatement, an area that has a lot of opportunity to build and roll in. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, heading into 2023, is how we can, do that and really think about affordable housing in a real way, in an impactful way.
Yeah, affordable housing is I always have a hard time with that term.
Mhm.
Kind of like a buzzword, right? You know that the reality is, I don't know what we would consider affordable anymore, but nothing seems to really be truly affordable.
Right.
But no, you've been working on that for a while. I remember, man, a couple of years back, right around when COVID was starting, just before when we had all that stuff going on here in Kansas City. Um, and whichever side people are on, I'm not on either. I see both sides of the table here about tenant rights, everything else, and I do believe tenants have rights, and shouldn't be treated terribly like some are. And I remember talking with you, and we were at a lot of those city meetings, trying to just advocate for, why can't we make this a mutually beneficial for all parties? So when you say that you were trying to figure out the different opportunities in like the Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, are you purely looking for tax abatements, or what else? Are you looking for infill lots? What exactly are you trying to do there, and how is that going to help make things more affordable?
Yep, great questions. So, looking at the land bank, looking at relationships with the city, looking at opportunities with other investors. I know of a couple groups that are working on some pretty big stuff as far as building. Um, it's definitely more infill than it is on the development side. So the cool part is, those lot prices are, very little cost to them, and a 10-year tax abatement. And if we can, come in and marry on top of that the ability to deliver a quality house at a reasonable price, that's kind of the spirit of that affordable housing. And you're so right. It's totally a buzzword, and can really strike a different feeling for different people. But
Yeah.
to me, it's like, how can we build a quality product, whether it's single family house or a small multifamily. uh, it's built well. It's in a location that has a lot of opportunity, so we have some scale, and we can attract some other people who are interested to do that same thing. Like, hey, we could really, my goal honestly is to like identify pockets of these and grow and scale them, and literally help transform the neighborhood as we do it.
Yeah, and not make it to where, because I know you guys' business very well. Like I said, we've known each other for some time. I've watched you guys grow from just a few of you to, I mean, you have dozens of employees now. But you're not trying to grow it, go into a neighborhood, the gentrify is kind of the buzzword there, and
Mhm.
kick out people that are already there. You're really trying to come in, improve the quality of life for the people that are there currently, as
Yep.
well as bring in people to that neighborhood, and make people see in these neighborhoods that maybe they are run down, they're blighted a little bit, just because they've been poorly managed or kind of neglected for years. You guys really come in and clean these things up, buying several homes or lots on one street and really trying to make it better for everybody. And it's pretty awesome to see some of the different places around Kansas City that you guys have done that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely, another area we did that was in the Marlboro neighborhood. I mean, I don't
Yes,
know how many
Marlboro
we
Heights.
we flipped in there, but it was a bunch. And not only did we, transform a bunch of streets literally, but watch the values of those houses go up significantly.
You
So
guys got in there long before people figured out that beauty there. That little diamond in the rough, man. That neighborhood has gone just absolutely bonkers the last 3 years. You guys were in there, I mean, well before most people figured it out. I
yeah,
remember that you guys were buying those things for pennies on the dollar.
yeah, we were definitely. And we also, putting the investment into those to where you actually get some. I remember
Yes.
early on, you couldn't get 125, 135,000, and now you have literally in the mid twos in
Yep.
there,
We
if not even.
I've seen low threes on a few of them, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy at the height, back in May or so. It was nuts. That's kind of the community. Younger couples or single couples, they've really kind of taken over that area because they can go a little bit north. This Brookside area gets a little more expensive. So it's still an affordable, quote unquote, again,
quote unquote. Yeah.
area here in Kansas City that's close to downtown, close to everything. And you guys, that was a good niche you guys got into early on before most people figured that one out.
Yeah, it was good. It was cool to see that, and so taking those same lessons, and how do we then, do the same thing where, you know, looking at, all right, what is the availability of land? What is the availability of interest too, where, hey, not just for us as a company, but other investors. I've had multiple conversations this week, last week, of people who are like, hey, yeah, I want to do a 2, 3 unit, 10 unit, couple single families. And the cool part is people are, walking out of those deals with equity, and a really cool opportunity to do more in those areas.
So this turnkey, and you kind of explained it earlier, but to somebody that knows absolutely nothing. You know, that in our world, in the real estate world, I obviously understand exactly what turnkey is, but turnkey is essentially you guys go in, you buy the house. It can be a decent house. It can be completely run down. You guys completely renovate it, get it to a stage where a lot of turnkey now is you actually lease it out. Do you guys lease yours out and then sell them, or do you sell them and then lease them out? Kind of what's that look like in your guys' business?
Yeah, in ours, we've pretty much handed that off to a third party property management company. Um, you know, it, we've had a few different variations of that, and early on, we owned our own property management company.
It's a lot of
Managing
headache,
for
man.
other people is not my most favorite thing. Uh,
People
so
that can do property management at a very efficient, high level, you know what? Praise to them because that is not an easy gig.
no, it's not. And so, really now, like we really haven't bought many renovation houses. I've personally bought quite a few over the last, year or two that are holds for like Airbnb and in cool
Yeah,
areas. And those have done really well. But for the most part, I really have just been focused on like how do we get our numbers down
new.
on the new construction to
Yep.
where we can really deliver and scale that.
You guys started new construction about roughly 2 years ago, if I remember right. Right?
We bought our first piece of ground in 2019 and
Okay.
delivered our
So
first
right
house
about
in
two.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you were first getting into that, we were kind of throwing some things back and forth and trying to help you guys find some different stuff around town. And man, I wish we would have all just struck right away and not kind of waited around and drug our feet on some of those because I look back, I was just looking at some of the deals on Peculiar actually that we had sent to you real early on when you first sent me a message asking about, if we have any lots or, new construction stuff. And I was looking back at one of the Peculiar subdivisions. I can't think of the Farmington or whatever it is, but those lots ended up selling for like $12,000, and now they're selling for 45, 50 grand for the lot. And it's like,
Crazy.
man, those lots sat since 2007. Nobody touched them.
And then
Yeah, golly, that's crazy to think about.
it
No, that's
is.
awesome, man. You guys are, I mean, in the new construction, how many do you guys have right now available? What are what kind of investors are you looking for? Give us a little sales pitch there.
Sure. So we have a handful that are available. I have a chunk of houses in Harrisonville right now that we're starting to have some roll out of the factory, so to speak.
And just so
Um,
everybody knows, Harrisonville is just south of Kansas City, about 25, 30 minutes from the heart of
yep,
the city.
Go
yep,
Wildcats.
exactly. We have a a couple houses that just went on the market in Independence that are more really geared toward like a homeowner buyer.
Okay.
And then, honestly, I have had probably 10 units worth of deals coming through the last few weeks where we're fee building for clients,
Oh,
which
wow.
has been awesome. And so we're doing a cost plus model where, from a turnkey perspective, they're actually getting equity in those deals. And so we come in as the buyer, we have a transparent process and show them what the costs are. We, do the actual, cost plus the, our fee,
Fee.
whatever.
Mhm.
And so that's been really great. And I'm really excited because, it keeps our guys rolling on awesome jobs and good deals. And then it, gives those investor buyers the opportunity to get an even better deal on what they want to do.
Yeah, what's a typical deal look like? So can you run us through the kind of the numbers? Like, are you looking at a 10 cap? Or are you looking at, 5 cap? What's a sale price on something like that? Run through those.
Yeah, sure. So the ones we've been looking at were primarily in Kansas City, Kansas. So just kind of between my focus and how the world works. I think when you put focus on something, you start to attract those things too.
Hmm.
And so, I'd say, single family house we're building, you know, delivered in like the 250, 260 range. We
Okay.
have a duplex plan that's gonna be delivered. Uh, I think it's in like the low fours,
Okay.
and 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 we can actually do a 3 unit with that as well. So we found, hey, we can deliver in the whether say $20 to $30 a square foot difference between what we're delivering it at cost wise and what the value is.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome.
especially, yeah, in some cases even more.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
How
it,
are you guys getting us that much in savings? What are you guys doing to do that?
Well, we're just delivering it, versus trying to have a built-in amount of fees, like maximizing that.
Got it.
We're cost plus percentage, and then you know when somebody brings, obviously, hey, if there's the cost of the lot or something in there, so that would not be included in it.
Yeah.
Or if there's some really expensive taps in the city, or sewer issues, or we have to tear down a house, or there's all these various things that happen in these infill lots.
Hmm.
But that sticks and bricks what we can deliver it for. And here's the other great thing is, cap rate is, ones we were looking at this week were like mid sevens, which for today's market I think is awesome.
Very competitive
Yep.
on brand new
And
construction. That's really good.
yeah, so it's been a continued
What
focus.
about Dallas? I know you guys have done some stuff in Dallas. I mean, that market really took off for you, didn't it?
So it was in Texas, but it was south of Dallas. It's
Okay.
actually south of Corpus Christi, called the Rio Grande Valley.
Okay.
And we have a great partner down there. And so yeah, we've done and we've held about 30 some units down there. So we own those as built to rent. And then we've built, maybe, I don't know exactly, a dozen or give or take specs down there that we've sold. And then we just completed a 99 lot development that was horizontal only duplex lots.
Wow.
And so we've exited. There's one buyer that isn't closing, so somebody wants a couple duplex lots. We have a few left
That's what we're
out
here
of that.
for.
But excuse me, yeah, that has been awesome. That market is just
Yeah.
on fire. And watching that,
Texas all over is just crazy.
it is. Yep.
you know,
So that's been a really great one too.
That's awesome.
um, I had it kind of relates. I also kind of wanted to shift to talk about the book, but we
Yes.
kind of been talking about it already. The book, by the way, comes out January 10th. Pre-orders are available. So I read a little bit in there. Amazon gives you the preview. I think it was only like 7 or 8 pages or something. Um, but
Right.
there's a quote in there that said, I wrote this book to transform the way you think about the work you do right now. So you used to focus on turnkey investments, and now you're starting to shift to affordable housing and helping more people. And it sounds like that's what you were saying, your primary focus. Was that kind of, in the little preview of the book, you said you reflected on past business and you didn't feel right, or how'd you put it in the book exactly? And is that what kind of inspired the whole book?
Well, I think the book, the inspiration, I wanted to write it for a couple of years, and I had, originally written out a kind of, what I thought might be the order of that book. And Brandon Turner, who was the former podcast host for Bigger Pockets, and has some of the most best-selling real estate books on Amazon on the
Yeah,
market,
he's awesome.
more than 4 or 5. He is awesome. He's a great writer, and he's he walks the
I
walk.
might
So
need you to make that plug for us to get him on our podcast too. I know you guys have a good relationship.
Well,
yeah, we
Nathan,
do.
he
I
he
don't.
he forwarded the
uh,
book that's coming out, correct?
yeah, so he wrote the foreword to the book, which is awesome. And so just so grateful for that. But and he's a great dude. And Open Door Capital is his company, and they are crushing it. I think they have 7,000 units under contract
Yeah, it's something
and closed.
insane.
And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But for me, I with the book, I wanted to, and it really evolved too. So I hired a coach. She really helped work through the process, because I'd submitted to Bigger Pockets. They said no, and I was like, okay, so kind of sat on the shelf again. And so I had a friend of mine who had written a book. Uh, actually, I have it sitting right here, so I'm going to plug him. He's a great dude. He's his name's Brandon. Owns a marketing company in Springfield. So he wrote this book, Maven Marketer, which is pretty cool. So there you go, Brandon. I'll hook you up, buddy. And
Brandon Welch. What was the
Brandon
book
Welch,
name?
the Maven
The
Marketer.
Maven. I think. Okay, I've heard this book.
And yeah, he's a good dude, and he runs a multi-million-dollar marketing firm out of Springfield area, and just a heck of a guy. But anyway, so he connected me with uh, through a friend, connected me to Brandon, who connected me to my coach. So long story short, I hire her, we start working on this thing, and then we realize like, hey, there's something here. So I went back to Bigger Pockets. They said no, they didn't want it. And so we ended up submitting it to multiple different publishers and had multiple offers to publish it. So,
Wow!
it's
Congratulations,
Congrats.
man.
still,
That's
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
thank you.
exciting. And I know you've been really pushing the book online. What's that look like? Sales wise, or what are the numbers looking like right now?
Well, my original goal was to sell 10,000 books. And that's kind of in the upper range of most like first time published authors who are not like on a huge
Hmm.
publisher. Now I'm published with Morgan James. They're legit. They have 30 plus New York Times bestsellers. Brendan Burchard's been on there. A number of other people you'd have heard of. So that, it's not. They're legit. They're awesome. And but I have a friend of mine, Jason, who just came in and was like, "Hey Nathan, I think you need some help here." And so we've made some different goals recently, and we're going to put some things into play as we roll into the new year to help. And the goal is to do more like 30,000 books this year
Yeah,
in 2023.
that would be
So
awesome.
yeah, a top 10 on Amazon real estate book. And when people talk about them on real estate books on podcasts and writing blogs and stuff, I want mine to be one of those couple that people say like Rich Dad Poor Dad, No Quitter's Guide. Um, and because the approach to my book was not just about like rah go make money, or how can we just drive real estate 101. It's like create a vision, set a context, like debunk some things that people continually I think make mistakes about what real estate actually is or isn't,
Hmm.
and then how do you actually use that business as a tool in your life in your business to actually get the end result that you want. So
That's awesome, man. Congratulations, first of all. It's takes a lot of work to write a book. I haven't done it. I've seen people doing it. I know you spent a lot of time working on it. That is
mhm.
extremely exciting, and we will absolutely be supporting you and grabbing a handful of books, ordering those, and making sure that we hand those out to at least a dozen different people around our office here in Raymore. So
I
Not that
appreciate
you
that.
not that you want to give away a bunch, but I've never wrote a book either, and I think it's interesting. But was there a chapter or something that you wrote it and you're just like, boom, that's the one right there? Like one that really, after the you put down the pen, you're like, that's by far the best one I wrote.
Well, funny enough in that question, and by the way, I thank you. I really appreciate the support, and it means the world to me for people who are like, yeah, I want to support you, and it's neat because it is a giant undertaking. And so I hired this coach, and we spent probably the first, I don't know, month, 6 weeks, something like that, and I had written like 30 some thousand words in pre-work, just in pre-work for the book. And then we go through a process of like identifying what are the books that are that it would be its competition kind of thing, and then how many words do they have, how many chapters do they have. And so I actually wrote the book. Initially I wrote it in 19 days. So I wrote the
wow.
whole thing, 72,000 words or so in 19 days. And I know it's stupid, it's crazy. So for most of it, so I'm a piano player by trade, played piano for a long time, and I can write 1,500 to 2,000 words an hour. So that
Wow.
tells you kind of the speed at which I was writing. But I went back, 2, 3 weeks later because I was like, whew, done. Read the book and I hated it, guys.
Oh
I
no.
I hated it. It wasn't like in the voice that I wanted, and it wasn't the feeling and experience that I wanted to have. So I sat back down with my coach and opened a new blank Google Doc, and I started rewriting chapter one. And she's like, Nathan, this is so much better. Like this is like night and day better. And so I ended up literally rewriting the entire book again,
Wow.
66,000 words. So I wrote like, 160, 170,000 words in, a course of about 6 months, which is basically three books.
Ooh, that's a lot of writing. What was the reasoning that you hated it? Did it not sound like you?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, when you think about things, for instance, I had a new assistant start a couple months ago. And when she would write something, almost immediately, it was like it was in my voice or in the way that I would want to communicate. And that same kind of concept when you open up your book and you're like, okay, how do I want this to land? How do I want it to feel? Who's the
Mm-hmm.
reader that I'm writing this for? And what is it about this book that, you know, how do I want, what do I want them to take away? And so it just didn't feel right, and after all that and the desire to want to go to a publisher and, honestly, No Quitters Guide, I think, has wings as a franchise for other books. And there's a lot of places we could go with that, a lot of ways that we could help people. And and because I'm also very, very much someone who I want to live the idea of how do I live personally an extraordinary life
Mm-hmm.
and doing extraordinary things. And so how can I help people do that for themselves? And so I felt responsible to come back and do a better job because I knew it could be better.
Yeah, and you'll always, I mean, first try of anything is never great, right? And the more you do
Yep.
it, the better it's going to get. And that's exciting to hear that, it has the wings for future books. I've never heard it put like that, but that's pretty cool. And I can definitely see you writing multiple books. I feel like you enjoy that a little too much, not me. I love to read. I don't know that I have the patience personally to write one.
It's,
Um,
you know, it, it's a lot, no doubt about it. But,
How
and I
much
really,
time would you say you put into it roughly? Like a week? What was the time commitment?
I was probably spending 20 to 30 hours a week.
Wow. Man.
Yeah. And then on the writing, like, so that was in the preparation. And then, like, in the writing, I would block 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday. But most Saturdays, I would wake up, fired up. So I'd I don't drink coffee anymore. So grab a hot tea and, walk downstairs to my office and plug away. But, you know, it, once you get rolling, and that's what's so interesting about a book writing process is like, just like a songwriter, there's some days you're like, man, I don't really feel like writing, or you have writer's block. And so you get your notes back out. Why did I write this book? What are the things that are important? And then, look at your outline, which I had, a distinct outline for that entire book. And then, put your head back down in there and get after it.
Yeah, just like business, right? Times
Yep.
get tough get going. You got
Yep.
to really dig in, and the only people that truly succeed are the ones that can push through those barriers. Um,
So,
I just ordered a few of the books, by the way. So, look, we ordered 5 here just now on the show. So,
Love
definitely
it.
supporting you,
Thank you.
man. And we will be giving those out to people that ask for and whatever else. And if we get more people that want some, send it our way. We'll be happy to send you a book.
so
Thank you
was
for
there?
that.
It's called the No Quitters Guide. When you said you rewrote the whole thing, was there a point when you realized you're about to redo this whole thing? You're like, I want to quit.
Oh man, for sure. You're like, because in a Google Doc, so my book is, I can't remember what it says on online. And by the way, you can get it anywhere books are sold. So you can, wherever you like to buy books, you can find them. Um, and I'm staring at the copy on my desk over here, and I can't remember exactly, but it's like 240 pages printed, but it's about 110 pages in a Google Doc. So you're like, you're looking at that format, you're looking at your word count because you're constantly like, hey, you want to know where you're at, and you're averaging X number of words per day, X number of words per week, which equals, our target was somewhere between, say, 55 and 65,000 words. So I was right in that range. And yeah, you're like, I don't want to do this again. I already wrote it once. Like, this is crazy. But at the same time, we kind of eased into it. So I started that first chapter, and my coach Ashley was like, "Man, this is so much better. Let's do chapter 2," because that was the other thing. It's almost easier, at least to me, to go in and rewrite it than it was to try to go in and edit it. And so
Interesting.
it made it easier because I wasn't trying to like compare this thing that I had written already. I could utilize basically the pre-work at that point, which was writing the book the first time, and
Yeah.
be more succinct, be more in my voice, and be more clear in the writing too.
So you took really the original idea and just expanded and got deeper on that when you rewrote it, is kind of what you're saying there.
Yeah, and I think language too. And I haven't even opened that doc up since. And here's the other crazy part is, I'm staring at that book. I have it printed out, and it's in that like, plastic top and plastic bottom and the little kind of 3-ring binder kind of
Oh,
style.
yeah.
Um, and I get that finished, and I send it to my coach, who has an editor who reads through it, and then I have another editor who reads through it, and then I spend another probably 2-3 weeks with another editor who we are polishing it and getting it clear, and then we still found errors in it, and it's one of those things where it's like, no matter how many eyeballs you put on it and how much time you put in there, there's still little things that show up.
Yeah.
I remember Kelly, my assistant, read through it, and there were 2 places that had like a random letter F or T. I can't remember which one it was. And I was like, how did like
How
five
does
of
that
us
get
had read
missed?
through it? How to get missed? Yeah, just like a random letter F in the middle of it.
I always go crazy when I'm reading a book and there's trust me, I am not good at grammar in general. So when I notice there's a mistake, there's really a mistake. It drives me
Yeah.
crazy when I'm reading a book and I see that. But then I get to thinking, like, how many times they probably read and reread this book to where that just didn't even point out to them because they had seen it so many times. They're flying through this thing.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Well, and at the point that we edited at the end, I was literally, so I would read it, my editor would reread it, and then she and I would get on a Zoom call and literally go like line by line.
Wow.
And
It's a lot of
man,
work, man.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
it's
believe
crazy.
you're interested in doing another one. My gosh.
Well, I really love the process, and I think about how many units I can build, and how big do I want to build a construction company versus how many books could I write and how many people could I impact,
Yeah.
and so I think it's a pretty neat, it's a really cool medium. And I know you, Scott, pretty well. Ryan, we don't know each other as well, but you know, we both read a lot of books. I'm assuming,
Mhm.
Ryan, you probably do too. And so, you think about all the time we're always seeking knowledge and seeking opportunity, and to be able to just make some small, uh, impact to
Yeah.
people doing that is a really cool thing.
I think you could touch a lot more people with
Yeah.
the book versus, like you said, versus building a construction company and having 1,000 units. Well, heck, if I could sell 10,000 books, I'm touching way more people. And
Yeah.
if 1% of those people, or even just one of those people, it makes an impact or changes their life, like that's a huge deal. And how
Huge. Yeah.
rewarding is that? I mean, that's awesome.
Yes. It's awesome. And also, I think a lot of people talk about, this is not why I did it, but a lot of people talk about, you know, writing a book or whatever, but how many
Mhm.
people actually go and do that? And so I was like, all
Yeah.
right, let's execute on this.
And it takes a
Well,
lot of
and
people much longer timeline as well. I mean, you crank through that thing. I know people that it took 5, 10 years to produce the book. They started, stop, started, stop.
and you wrote,
Absolutely.
like you said, you wrote multiple books with just the process. And I mean, I think this really shows what kind of person you are. You run a big business and in multiple states. Texas, you're not just in one neighborhood. You're writing a book, you read it, you can't stand it. A lot of people probably been like, I'll do it better on the next one. Let's try to get it published. You scrapped
Right.
it and restarted and kept your business alive. Like, how do you juggle that many things at once? Was somebody else did you put somebody else in charge? Like, hey, I'm going to knock the book out. Like, how did that happen?
It's just time blocking, and I think there's people who do, way more than I do, but um, for me it was just like, hey, make sure we have clear priorities and
Mm-hmm.
obligations in the business, and at the same time, set that time aside and be productive in that. And I think that goes for everything in life, right? You
Absolutely.
set aside that time, and we time block so that we make whatever it is we focus on it important. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that focus, comes, yeah, are you going to actually create that result that you want, or are you not? And
Yep.
so, and I'm just more and more obsessed about this is like, am I sitting in the right seat? Am I sitting in my genius that I'm doing something? And does it, whether it makes money or not, am I enjoying it, and does it bring value to my life, and does it bring value to the people around me? And so, really trying to be thoughtful and conscious of that.
Yeah, no, we'll get to the last couple questions here in just a second, but I wanted to say on that point, it's just amazes me how the most successful people are by far the busiest, yet they always seem to find time for everything that's important, no matter how busy they get. And then I
Mhm.
get all these other friends or family, everybody that tells me how busy they are on a daily basis, and I'm like, you don't know what busy is. I mean, realistically, like you're working and no nothing against it, but you're working the one job, going home like 8 to 5. I know guys that are working, running multiple companies, thousands, tens of thousands of employees, all these things, and yet they seem to get all this stuff done. Plus, they still work out. Plus, they eat healthy. It's what's important to you.
Yep.
And if you want it to be important, you'll make time for it. And that's the difference, in my opinion, between a leader and not, is people that can time block, can be very efficient and effective with their time. Um, yeah, and you're one of those guys. Obviously, you don't run a business at your level, write a book, do all these things if you weren't.
Yes. And actually, speaking of multiple businesses, we actually just launched, I have a different partner in it, but an e-com company. So we've started building Amazon stores for clients. And it's called
Oh,
Store Built.
nice.
And so that's been really fun and really cool. And uh, so yeah, literally, how do you time block between, a couple different things that are running and things that are working? And again, we can impact, people
Mm-hmm.
by building a cool product and a cool opportunity for other people. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll get to wrapping up here. I got a couple questions for you, Ryan. You might have a question or two as well, but uh, first question is: as a leader, what's the one thing that you feel sets you apart from the pack? Like what differentiates you from every other real estate investor out there?
yeah, so I think for me as an investor and a leader, it's about how I approach my people, and of both interest to see them successful, and then also we have the right people in the right seat, and honoring them and their time, and that they're working in my business, and
Mm-hmm.
spending their time and effort and literally their life within our company. So having a respect for that, and also having setting clear objectives, and then giving the team opportunity to have autonomy to help run and execute in that, I think is a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome all the time. But it's a lot more fun to win
Mhm.
together for everybody to succeed, even if you're not going to, you make a little bit less money or it costs you a little bit more here. Like, who cares if we're all succeeding and people are out there driving more business for the business, right?
Mhm.
Bringing in referrals. They're excited when they come in. So everything's just so much more fun.
Yes.
That's a huge deal. And a lot of people can't understand that concept.
It's I don't understand how they don't, but you're
I
right.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, next one. What's one book? I know you've actually mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad a few times. That's by far probably the biggest book in my life that made me really get into real estate away from the 9 to 5 job. But what's one book that kind of changed your life or propelled you to do something that you were kind of thinking about and just weren't pulling the trigger?
There's been a bunch over the years, but I'm at my stand-up desk here in my office, and I have a couple sitting right here. The 4 Hour Work Week was one that
Great book.
was an awesome book. I got Ray Dalio's Principles here. Um, and there's another one sitting over here that I can't reach at the moment, but the Go Giver book, and I forget the
Yes,
name of the author, but I love that book. Maybe Bob Berg. I don't know if that's the author or not, but um, just the thought of like we were kind of alluding to this earlier. The a lot of the most successful people I know are also some of the most giving people too.
absolutely.
And how do we have that spirit of like, hey, how can we help other people, which no doubt ends up helping yourself in the long run, but being willing to do that. So I think that book really, I loved how it was written. I loved how it impacted to say, hey, don't just think about yourself. Let's think about how this affects other people.
Thanks for coming on, Nathan. We really appreciate you, and we're really excited about the book. If anybody wants the new book coming out, just reach out to us. And is there anything else you have for us, Nathan, before we sign off?
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys again for having me on the podcast, and really enjoyed chatting. And I'm really, looking forward to seeing what you guys are up to over the next 12 months as well. And I'm sure we can catch up offline via cigar and a bourbon at some point,
Ryan owes us
which would be
cigar and bourbon, so we're gonna make him pay up on that.
I did. I
okay. I
did.
like it.
Yeah, and guys, again, his book releases January
January
10th.
10th.
It is on pre-order right now. So get the book. Reach out, Nathan. Keep crushing it out there, man. Love to see it. And please let us know if we can help you out in any way. And thank you for coming on the podcast. We're still kind of new at this thing, but we are really starting to rock and roll and enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun with you.
Awesome. Likewise, it's been a lot of fun, and podcasting is such a cool medium,
It
and it's such
is.
a something I really appreciate and enjoy being on here as well. And I appreciate your support. And there's actually nothing on this site yet, but there will be in the next couple weeks. NoQuittersGuide.com. So we'll have
Perfect.
that as a place to people can go, and
We'll
we're
put a
gonna
link on here, Ryan, to make sure we get a link to his book.
Yep, I'll look it all up.
and work too. So like once they read the book, like what action do I take? They'll actually have a thing that they can work through to
Nice.
actually have a way to take action after. So it'll be sweet.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
Well, Ryan, wrap this thing up.
Yeah, hey, thanks for listening. Again, Nathan, thank you for coming on. We're all looking forward to the book. Again, you can buy it any place where you can get books, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon, and many other places. All right, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.